Over the last few years, I've been obsessed with productivity and finding the best ways to get more done in less time, with varying degrees of success. I love studying habits and how they can improve our productivity. And one thing that has been hugely impactful for me is to create a system that supports me holistically in reaching my goals, rather than focusing on pushing myself and using willpower to reach them. Recently, I created a video where I talked more about this idea of creating systems in order to actually reach the goals we set, and the response was overwhelming. People gave me a ton of great feedback in the comments section, which I really appreciated. Thank you so much to everybody who watched the video and left comments. I'm really super grateful. In particular, people seemed to gain a lot of benefit from the specific examples I gave about how to put systems versus habits concepts into place. So in this video, I want to revisit the topic of creating systems to reach our goals and provide even more specific and concrete examples to help you put this practice into your own life. In his landmark book, Atomic Habits, author James Clear said, "You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." So to begin, what is the difference between a goal and a system? Basically, a goal is a specific, measurable objective that you strive to achieve, often with a fixed endpoint in mind, whereas a system is a set of sustainable processes and habits designed to consistently lead you toward your desired outcome. Goals are important for providing direction, but systems are the means by which you make continuous progress. They focus on the processes and behaviors and the person you need to become in order to reach your destination. So here are a couple more examples to help illustrate exactly what I mean by goals versus systems, with ideas for how to apply it in real life. For the first example, let's say that you want to get out of debt. This is a goal that can be really overwhelming and emotionally charged for lots of people. So putting a system around it can really help you out in a lot of ways. Our goal for this might be pay off $6,000 in credit card debt on my 2 credit cards over the next 12 months. So to break this down to a system, I might say, okay, if I want to pay off $6,000 in the next 12 months, I'll need to pay off about $500 each month. First, we need to create that $500 per month. To do that, I'll allocate $300 per month from my paycheck toward this debt, and I'll pay it as soon as my paycheck hits my account. I'll also cut out $100 per month from my dining out budget and put that toward the debt. Finally, I'm going to create an extra $100 per month through tutoring, pet sitting, or another side hustle. And now I have my system set up for exactly where this money will come from. So it's on autopilot and I barely need to think about it. Next, there are a few specific strategies out there for paying off debt, and I'm personally a fan of the snowball method. To put this $500 most efficiently to use, I'm going to continue paying the minimum monthly payment on both credit cards. However, I'll identify the card with the higher interest rate and put the remainder of that $500 toward the high interest card each month. Once the card with the higher interest rate is paid off, and I'm only required to make a minimum payment on the one remaining card, I can put the whole $500 toward the lower interest card until it's paid off as well. By putting a system and strategy in place to tackle this debt, it not only increases my chances of achieving this goal, but also removes some of the guesswork and emotions from having to think about it all the time. For the next example, let's focus on something a little bit different, learning a new language. Our goal for this might be achieve a basic conversational level, or level A2, of French in the next 12 months, in order to feel more confident and prepared for my vacation to Paris next summer. It can be difficult to define a concrete goal for something as subjective as learning a language, but by phrasing it this way, I have a better chance of success because I've defined the level of French proficiency I'm aiming for, A2, I've set a reasonable time frame, 12 months, and I've defined my why for wanting to reach the goal with my vacation next year. So now it's time to put the system in place. For something like learning a language, the system is going to work best if I take some time initially to define and set up a few weekly habits, and then focus on maintaining them consistently. So here are the things I want to do every week. First, I'm going to hire a French teacher on a website like italki or something else, so that I have a customized one-on-one lesson once per week. I also invested in a monthly Pimsleur subscription and will commit to completing the 30-minute Pimsleur audio lessons 5 times per week. I'm also doing Duolingo, which is a free language learning app, for about 20 minutes 4 times per week. Finally, in order to help learn French with a little bit less pressure and a little bit more fun, I'm going to spend about 3 hours per week watching TV in French. Here's a pro tip. You can either watch TV shows and movies in the target language, or you can watch the dubbed version of your favorite shows. I personally like watching Disney movies in other languages. Since I've seen them so many times in English, it makes it easier to understand what's going on in French, even if I don't actually understand all the words. So now that I've defined the system and broken it down by week, I can focus on just doing my predefined actions each week, knowing that these things will help me get to my goal. Finally, I want to share a simple example about how I've recently created a system in my own life. One goal that I recently set for myself was to get in the habit of waking up at 6 a.m. I love how quiet things are in the mornings, and at least for me personally, I have my peak creative energy during those early morning hours. So I wanted to capitalize and make the most of them with a 6 a.m. wake-up habit that also didn't feel miserable. So I put a system in place. It's nothing revolutionary, but I set an alarm for 9 p.m. each night to remind me to shut everything down and get into bed. This helps make sure that I have a little time to get ready and get into bed, with enough time to also sleep for a full 8 hours. I also set a personal boundary for myself that I will only say yes to activities or events that will end by 8 p.m. at the latest, so I have time to get home and go to sleep early. I also try to maintain this on the weekends as much as possible, with maybe an hour of extra wiggle room. Finally, I invested in a nice sleep mask and earplugs so that I could give myself the best chance of getting a good night's sleep. One final thing was that I wanted this 6 a.m. wake-up habit to be sustainable and enjoyable, and not miserable and dependent on willpower every single day. So even though I've been waking up at 6 a.m., I've given myself permission to lay there in bed, awake, either scrolling through my phone or petting my cats, or just relaxing until I feel like getting out of bed. This last part has been a game changer, and after a few weeks of implementing this system, my body has actually gotten used to its new sleep schedule, which has been really enjoyable. I hope you found these examples helpful. Now that you hopefully have some ideas floating around in your mind about systems and goals, I'm going to quickly share the 6 simple steps that you can use in order to create your own system. Step number 1 is to clearly define your goal and why you want to reach it. It's important to think about if your goal is actually something that's important to you, or if it's just something that somebody else wants you to do. If it's the latter, you might have trouble working toward the goal if you don't actually care about it. Step number 2 is to break the goal into clearly defined milestones. In our example of paying off debt, your first milestone might be when you pay off the first credit card and get to move on to the next one. Or with learning a new language, it can be celebrating when you finish reading your first book in French or finishing a TV show that you actually understood. This will prevent you from getting overwhelmed or bored while working toward your goal while also staying motivated. Step number 3 is to identify things that will help you reach your goal and put systems in place to make it easier to do them. For my 6 a.m. wake-up example, this could be setting that 9 p.m. bedtime alarm and only scheduling events that end before 8 p.m. Step number 4 is on the other side of the coin from step number 3, and that is to identify things that will hinder your progress toward this goal and put systems in place to make it harder to do them. Going back to the credit card debt example, it will obviously be more difficult to pay off the credit card if you're still actively using it. So you may want to consider, if you can, removing the cards from your wallet and keeping it in a drawer somewhere until it's paid off. Step number 5 is to track your progress. The journey to reach our goals can be slow and tedious, so it can be helpful to focus on small daily wins in order to stay motivated. Try focusing on action-based daily or weekly goals that are within your control, like spending 30 minutes per day on a French audio lesson or working 2 hours per week on your side hustle. This will help you track your progress and maintain consistency within your new system. Finally, step number 6 is to acknowledge and celebrate small wins. Remember those small milestones from step 2? Celebrate whenever you achieve one of them. I find that when you just keep going and going all the time, we don't pause to celebrate our wins, and it's really easy to get burnt out, which increases our chances of giving up. So make sure you also celebrate your small successes. This doesn't need to be anything huge. Maybe you go out to dinner or treat yourself to a massage or buy a new book, whatever that looks like for you. I hope this follow-up video has helped you think a little bit more about systems and goals and how building effective systems can actually help you reach your goals with less resistance and stress. Let me know in the comments what system you're going to put into place so we can all cheer for each other's success. If you enjoyed this video, you might also enjoy my first video about building systems to support your goals, which was the inspiration for this one. I'll post a link to that here if you want to check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.